All right, let's talk about something you see over and over and over again in the biblical narrative, these incredible divine acts. We're talking about everything from huge, world-changing miracles to moments of unbelievable wisdom and prophecy. It's almost like a rhythm. So what is the pattern here? Now, for this explainer, let's set belief aside for a moment. We're not here to debate whether these things happened. Instead, we're just going to look at what the text itself says. What's the actual pattern in these stories? What kind of narrative are they trying to build? Let's dive right in. Okay, first things first. We have to get our heads into the world the text is describing. This is not our modern scientific world. Think of it more like a place where the line between the natural and the supernatural is, well, it's incredibly thin. It's a world the story just fills with wonders. And this is really the crucial point right here. These supernatural events, they're not just random plot twists thrown in for excitement. The way the text presents it, they're the main way the divine actually communicates and interacts with people. They're not just part of the story, they're the very fabric of it. So if we want to really get a handle on this pattern, the clearest place to start is with the person the text holds up as the ultimate example, Jesus. His works are basically presented as the benchmark, the gold standard for everything else we see in the narrative. So just how extensive are these works? Well, if you look at the four Gospels alone, they record at least 37 distinct miracles. 37! That's not a minor detail or a footnote. That is a central defining feature of his entire story. And these aren't all the same, not by a long shot. They cover an absolutely incredible range. You have these very personal, intimate healings, curing blindness, leprosy, and then you have these massive displays of power over nature, like calming a storm with a word or walking on water. The text even has him raising people from the dead and, feeding thousands with just a handful of food. It's the whole spectrum. But it's not just about the flashy, physical miracles. The narrative puts just as much weight on his acts of incredible wisdom. I mean, take this famous quote. With one single sentence, he completely turns the tables. He doesn't just save a woman's life, he disarms a political trap, exposes the hypocrisy of everyone standing there, and completely reframes the moral debate. It's brilliant. And then you've got the third piece of this puzzle, prophecy. The source material shows him predicting all sorts of things. On one hand, you have very personal predictions, like his own death, or that Peter would deny him. But on the other hand, you have these huge geopolitical forecasts, like the destruction of the temple in Jerusalem, which, as the text is quick to point out, actually happened a few decades later. Okay, but here's where the narrative takes a really interesting turn. The text goes out of its way to show that these kinds of works, the miracles, the wisdom, the prophecy, they're not a one-off. They're not exclusive to Jesus. Instead, he's just one part of a much, much bigger pattern that stretches across the centuries. I mean, look at this. This timeline really lays it all out. You can see this theme repeating itself again and again. You've got Moses parting the Red Sea way back at the beginning of the story. Then you see prophets like Elijah and Elisha doing incredible things. And it doesn't stop there. After Jesus, the apostles Peter and Paul are described as continuing the exact same kinds of works. Yeah, let's just zero in on one specific type of miracle to see how clear this pattern is. Raising the dead. It's pretty powerful when you see it laid out like this. It's not a one-time unique event. The prophet Elisha does it in the Old Testament, then Jesus does it several times, and then, after him, the apostle Peter does it again. The text is making a very clear point. This is a consistent display of power, working through different people in different eras. And it's the exact same story when it comes to wisdom. It's not just a Jesus thing. Way before him, you have the text celebrating Solomon's genius-level judgment, right? Or Joseph interpreting dreams that literally save Egypt from famine. You've even got powerful women like Deborah leading the entire nation with divine insight. It's a thread that's woven through the whole story. So what's the point of all this? Where is this all going? Well, according to the text, this pattern isn't just a history lesson. The whole thing seems to be building toward a single final point. What the story presents as a kind of open, enduring invitation. And this verse, this is the pivot point for the whole narrative. The text is being incredibly explicit here. It's saying the story of these amazing works is not over. It's a direct promise that this whole pattern of miracles, healing, and wisdom is supposed to continue and, get this, even expand through the people who follow him. So what do greater things even look like? Well, the Apostle Paul actually lays out a kind of blueprint for this later on. He calls them the gifts of the Spirit. And if you look at the list, it should sound pretty familiar by now. Wisdom, knowledge, faith, healing, miraculous powers, prophecy. It's the exact same pattern we've been following, but now the idea is that it's spread out among a whole community. And the text is really clear about the why behind all of this. These aren't superpowers for personal gain or glory. They're presented as coming from a single source, and they're given out to different people for one big reason, for the common good. The whole point is to build up, to heal, and to guide the community as a whole. So at the end of the day, when you step back and look at the entire arc of the biblical story, from Moses all the way through to the apostles, what you see isn't just a random collection of crazy stories. What emerges is this consistent developing theme. It's a theme that presents divine intervention as a normal, even expected part of the world. It frames all these events not as a closed book, not as ancient history, but as an open invitation. And so the final question the text leaves you chewing on is an invitation to what?